All right. Hi, James. How are you?
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me on today.
Oh, thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it. Show me history. I had somebody else on my show from that.
That's possible. My partner Mark Schulman and I have
Mark
created
Schulman.
19 books in the Show Me History series.
Okay, yeah, that was at least a year or so ago.
Yeah, we're 4 years into it, and we've got 16 have been published, and there's three more to go later this year.
Okay, so the Show Me History is.
It's a graphic nonfiction series from a company called Portable Press, and the idea is to use the very popular medium of a comic to tell a true story, a real story, a nonfiction story to younger readers. All about all biographies so far. We hope to expand, but right now we've got 19 biographies of famous people. The latest of which we're talking about today is Muhammad Ali, the greatest of all time.
How is this different than, or what's unique about this? Why is this unique to other media out there for kids?
Well, sure. The format of graphic novels has become in the last 5 or 6 years one of the fastest growing and most popular formats for kids to read. And obviously, we all want kids to read lots more, especially when we're trying to actually sell things. And we decided that telling true stories would be just as useful and impactful as telling fictional stories. So, through the medium of comics and visual storytelling, the excitement of movement, the color, the drama that you can add to a drawing that may not be there in a photograph. So we're combining all these great elements, terrific graphics and lettering from some great comic book experts. Our artist, Andy Duggan, did a terrific job recreating the world of Muhammad Ali and the action of the boxing. So it was a great way to combine all the different ways to tell a story in telling our story about one of the great Americans of all time, Muhammad Ali.
Okay, do you do the illustrations yourself?
No, for the whole Show Me History series, Mark and I have teamed up with a group of really talented comic artists. And what Mark and I do as authors of these books is we write the script. It's very much like writing a movie. We have to write the dialogue that the characters will speak on the page. We have to write a description of the action we'd like to see to go along with that dialogue. So, for instance, on a spread about the one of the Ali Frazier fights, we would talk to the artist and say, okay, we'd like to do like 5 or 6 panels on this page, and here's the action that needs to be shown to tell the story. It needs to have, this round one, round two, this particular punch, and we would describe all that in the manuscript, and then the artist does a sketch, and then we go to. It's very collaborative, so we would sort of go back and forth, and he might have an idea, or I might have an idea, and then together they're merged onto the page with the lettering to create all the pieces of the storytelling media that is graphic novel format. And so it was a new way for me to write. I've written an awful lot of books for kids, and most of them were regular books. But to be able to think like a comic artist, to think like an artist, think like almost a movie director, it was a lot of fun. It was a great new way to write and a great new way to tell stories that we think are important for kids to read about.
So, do you take actual historical archives of these people and then just create a timeline scenario for the book?
Well, I treat it just as if I was writing a nonfiction biography of any person. So it demands the same level of research. So I've read, biographies about Ali. I wrote contemporary accounts of the newspapers and magazines that covered him in the day. Obviously, with Ali, as opposed to an earlier book I did on Sacagawea, there's a lot of video,
Right.
very little video of Sacagawea, strangely enough. And so for Ali, I was able to go back and watch the fights and watch the interviews. So read newspaper accounts, biographies. So then the question for an author like myself creating a story for kids is to distill that mass of material down into 96 pages, to choose the events and anecdotes and stories that highlight the key aspects of his life. And then another important thing for writing for kids is to make sure to understand, to give them all the context. So it's one thing for an adult to hear that Muhammad Ali chose to evade the draft. Well, a kid might not even know what the draft is. There is no draft right now. They might have never heard of that. So we have to explain, what is the draft? What was the draft? What was the Vietnam War? Why was it controversial? So it's a mix of creating context, of choosing just the right story points to tell the story step by step, and whenever possible, make it dramatic and make it exciting and make it entertaining, which is really one of the best advantages of doing things as a comic book, is that you're able to have a little more action than you could find in a photograph. You can add emotion that you want to show to a person's face that you might not have an actual photograph of them showing that emotion. So there's a lot of really great tools we can use. But back to your point, my job as an author is to have all the facts at my fingertips so that I can choose the right ones to tell the story.
Did you get the bit when he met the Beatles? Is that in there?
Indeed, yes. There's a great panel. I'll flip it.
Yeah,
if
let's
I can
see
flip
it.
to it, I will.
Let's see it.
Let me get to it a sec. Yeah, that was in Miami. Here we go. There's a page of it right there. Let's see. There he is. We recreated a famous photograph. A lot of the fight game in those days was promotion, so just as it is today, and linking up athletes with celebrities is and was a huge important thing. And so Ali's manager knew that the Beatles were in town for a show. At the same time, Ali was in Miami training, and he arranged for them to meet, and they clowned around and did some fun photographs together, and they're really well-known pictures. So we did our version of one of the most famous. So yeah, the connection of celebrity and sports has always been a part of sports, but it grew leaps and bounds through the personality and the actions of Muhammad Ali in the 60s and 70s.
I think that was good PR for both of them.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. The Beatles was 64. They were just coming to America. They're just starting out. And Ali was at the very beginning of his fantastic career. So to see the two of them sort of starting to grow up together and to see them connect early, yeah, it was a fun little pop culture tidbit there.
Who decides who you're going to do, who you're going to write about in the books?
Sure. Well, the Show Me History series starts with an understanding of popular people for young people to read about, important people for them to read about. We take into account a little bit curriculum and what kids are reading about or learning about in school at the age that we're aiming at, which is really 8 and up. And we try and have a really diverse list, trying to be inclusive of a lot of different kind of points of view. So in the series, we've had everyone from Alexander Hamilton to Martin Luther King. We have Harriet Tubman and Walt Disney. We have Neil Armstrong and Sacagawea. There's a whole wide range of experiences that kids can read about in the series, and it's a way for them to, in an entertaining, fun, we hope, there's some jokes in most of the books, not when it's serious, but when they can joke, we throw a joke in, to have them be entertained and learn while they're being entertained.
Is there any interest in having your works produced into full animation cartoons?
Hasn't come up yet. We're certainly going to look into that as the series grows. We're about 3 years into it, and the sales are continuing of the hardcover books, and they're available wherever books are sold, as they say. Haven't heard anything specific to that. I think that the tricky part is with this series, doing it something like that with this series, is that we've had multiple artists on the series, whereas in an animated series, you'd want to have a single animation style throughout the whole thing. So we'd have to pick one of the animators or one of their styles to go with, and then recreate some of the books that way. But there's plenty of material, and it would be certainly a lot of fun. So if anybody out there listening, contact me. I'd be happy to talk to you about it.
Why do you think, now this is not necessarily with your series, but kind of just books in general, why do you think technology has not destroyed a physical book like it has with music and CDs and records and even film to some degree, because it's gone digital? But why is there still a big market for physical hard copies of books?
Well, as someone who basically makes his living with physical hardcover copies of books, I'm very pleased that America and the world has not lost its love for the printed form. I think it's a tactile sensation. Even as much as ebooks have grown, even in the past year during the pandemic, ebook sales rose about 25 or 30% over the previous year. They still, even with that, we're still only about 20% of the entire book sales market. And in kids' books, it's even less. The impact of ebooks on children's books has been noticeable, but not dramatic. That's probably the best way of putting it. I think with books, it's something you want to hold in your hand. You want to experience the turning of the pages. You want to be in charge of that experience. Whereas in a movie, it's just, there's nothing to do about a movie. You can turn it on, you can turn it off. You can stop it if you need to go get a snack. But with a book, you are always in charge of where you are and where you're going, how fast you want to get there. Do you want to go backwards? The story I tell is in 2000, I was working for the National Football League, and I was part of the team that started NFL.com. And we had an opportunity then, I had an opportunity then to move into the full-time digital space and become a web producer and a web content creator, or take on a new project to create my first large-scale illustrated nonfiction book for kids. And I just sat down and I said, I think, and I'm like, knock on wood, I was right. In 20 years and 50 years and 100 years, people will still, especially with parents and kids, will still want to sit down together and share that book. And they'll want to page through it, and they'll want to lie there in bed and at night and read a book to each other. And it can't be replicated with the screen. The screen to me sort of adds another person in the room. It adds an intermediary between you and the author and the creator, the artist of the book, that I think gets in the way of the experience. I read ebooks every night because otherwise it's too bright and my wife keeps my wife up. But I read ebooks every night. I love them. But I also read hardcover books and paperback books. And when they started making cassette tapes, or when they started making motorcycles, they didn't stop making cars. Ebooks are another way for people to experience information. And I'm just happy that people are out there buying books in whatever format they want to buy them.
Well, that's a good point. And the other point that I've thought about is that with the others that we talked about, like vinyl records or CDs and cassette tapes you mentioned, with film, a book is the only one of those formats that doesn't require any electricity.
That helps a lot. Absolutely. I mean, you can pick up this book and there you go. That's all you need. The power goes out. It's nighttime. You could just light a candle and enjoy your book. It's a low entry point. Libraries offer them free, and I think also that the experience of music is still listening to music. That has not changed in 12,000 years. People getting sounds in their ears. Whether it comes from a record or cassette or a CD, the experience of taking in the music is still the same. A book has been around for, 2,000, 3,000 years. And again, it's an experience that we're kind of born and bred to enjoy. And you can't take that away. Like I said, I think switching to, especially with kids' books, especially with a visual medium that has lots of pictures, most of our books, as you saw earlier, these books there's a lot going on these pages, and there's drawings and lettering and pictures, and it just doesn't work on a screen as well as it does to hold it in your hand and move the book around and turn and zooming in and circling with your finger on a screen just doesn't have the same tactility that a book does. And so I think we're here to stay. Fingers crossed. But I think it's a little different from film and video and music in that way, that it's the tactility, the hands-onness of it is important to the book experience.
Well, I agree with you, and I hope that they are there to stay. The one thing I found the difference between an ebook and a real book is my eyes tend to get very tired after an ebook, where they don't with print.
Great.
I don't know why. Maybe it's the light. Maybe it's, know.
One more point in books' favor. We'll add that to the advertising campaign.
Absolutely.
Save your eyes. Read a book.
Save your eyes. Read a real book. Yeah. James, we got to wrap this up. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Do you have a website that you want to give out?
Well, I want to send people to their independent bookstores as much as I can. I really want people to support independent bookstores. And so go there, ask for Muhammad Ali, the greatest of all time, or any of the Show Me History books. They're all available as well online at Amazon.com and all the usual online booksellers. If you Google Portable Press, which is the publisher, and Show Me History, you'll be taken to a page that is full of Show Me History information, including all the book covers, excerpts of some of the books, and some really cool teacher's guides, which teachers and parents can use to expand on the lessons and the topics and the information that is in all the books. And we think it's a great way to introduce young people to a lot of really amazing human beings that they can use as role models. And while they're reading it, hopefully have a little fun.
All right, James. Thanks so much for coming on the show and sharing your book and sharing your thoughts. Best of luck with it.